All right, well, welcome everybody, and welcome to this special Meet the Miniaturist.
I had these little tiny stuffed seals. When I look at pictures on Instagram where people are posting, hey,
Oh, my goodness. All right, well, welcome everybody, and welcome to this special Meet the Miniaturist. I'm really excited to introduce my very special guest, Karen Butler-Kennedy from Kennedy Miniature Construction LLC. Karen,
thank you,
thank you
Darren.
so much for joining me tonight, today, wherever you're coming from. And
Thank
just,
you for having me.
yeah, no, you know what? Obviously, I found you on social media as we do these days, and I was just struck by, some of your awesome work, and I'm so glad we're going to get to talk about some of your great work
Thank you.
that you have posted and that you continue to do.
Thank
But there
you.
are some great stories behind it, so I can't wait to get to those as well. So why don't you just introduce yourself and tell folks a little bit about yourself, and transition it to how you got involved with miniatures.
Okay, well, my name is Karen Butler-Kennedy, and I am from California.
Hmm.
And now that I live up in the great Northwest, they look down on people from California a bit. A transplant, I guess I am. But
Mhm.
although I was born in Southern California in Anaheim, I grew up in the Bay Area. And my dad was a manufacturer's rep back in the late 60s and the 70s and part of the 80s. And in those days, because there was no internet, then salesmen of his type he was self-employed. He had a showroom downtown San Francisco, and stores would come to him and place their orders from looking at what he had on his shelves. And one of my favorite things that he represented was fantastic merchandise miniature furniture. Loved it. And so Pitt Ginsburg was a friend of the family and ended up coming to my wedding. I still have a beautiful cut glass bowl that he gave me as a wedding gift.
I'm actually going to share a little photograph of Pitt because he is iconic in the mini world.
He certainly
You're
is.
talking about the name of the brand at the time was Fantastic Miniatures, right?
Fantastic merchandise.
Fantastic Merchandise, which ultimately
Yes.
became Best Pack, which most
Yes.
people know today as Best
Yes.
Pack.
That's
But
right.
that is so amazing that your journey in the miniatures world touched upon sort of this icon.
Yes.
So your father would work was a manufacturer distributor, so he worked with Pitt directly.
Yes. Yes. The way that my dad's business worked is that, and this was really fun. People would come to our house with their wares and
Mhm.
try to get my dad to represent them. And so
Right.
all different people would show up. Once the man came to our door and he had a big sack with him, and my mom said, "What's this guy doing here with his laundry?" And it was stuffed full of teddy bears.
Right.
But people came with all kinds of things. And it was one of the people who came to see my dad and wanted
Yeah.
him to represent fantastic merchandise.
So I would imagine if
So
you wanted to get your product in any store at that time, you had to go through your dad, or
that's
your dad was
right.
a way to get in.
That's
So
right.
how was that early sort of connection to people like Pitt, the dollhouse world? How did that inspire to you to do what you're doing today? And let's talk a little bit about what you're doing today.
Well, I always loved little tiny things, always anyway, even
Yeah,
before meeting Pitt and before knowing what my dad was really doing when I was younger. I
yeah.
used to make little furniture for my little stuffed animals and things, and I'd twist paper and make legs for them and do things. And I had these little tiny stuffed seals. They're just little bitty like this, and I'd crochet them clothes. And so I just got hooked on that, and they're still on my Christmas tree today. I put the little
Oh,
seals and their clothes on the Christmas tree every year.
yeah.
It's where everything goes to, I don't know, live forever.
Yeah.
But so I've always loved little things. And my dad ended up saving a whole bunch of this fantastic merchandise
Yeah.
sampling that he had, and
Right.
two dollhouse kits from Miniaturist dollhouses.
Okay. Are
And
they still around today? Are
they are
those?
not.
No.
They are
Okay.
not. They were down in Southern California. It was a husband and wife that did it together.
Mhm.
And I've tried to find Miniaturist dollhouses online. And
Right.
every
Okay.
now and then there will be one that shows up on,
But they sort
you
of like the
know,
Melissa and Doug of today, because this sounds very homemade, home crafted, not made overseas kind of thing.
they were very, very well made. They're the particle board that they used for the walls is
Uh-huh.
very thick.
Uh-huh.
It's a much better grade than you'd find. It's like I would compare it to Real Good Toys,
Okay. Okay.
possibly.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a similar brand.
Yeah.
But they had a very unique way of putting their houses together in a way that was going to last and last. And so they
Right.
were very well constructed kits,
Yeah.
as it were.
Yeah. Right.
And along the way, I started building one of these kits that was saved for my daughter. And
Uh-huh.
so this was when she was little, like very little. And
Yeah.
there's a whole story about that that I won't go into right
Yeah.
now. But it ended up that by the time she was almost 30, I was
Yeah.
finishing up this kit. And so, yeah. And by
An
then,
endeavor.
yes, exactly. By then, life got in the way. A lot of life got in the way.
Yeah.
But by the time I started working on it, some of the bottom of the house had gotten weathered from being stored in the garage and stored, in different places throughout the years.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to cover the bottom, and I found these little bricks and mortar at Mini Materials, and absolutely fell in love with that. But the house was already, my ex-husband had put it together and quickly before paint, before I had a chance to do anything with it. So I had to knock some of it apart again to try to work with it. And by the time I started working with it, it was missing many pieces. It didn't have the front porch. It didn't have the front stairs, because you see it enters on the second level here. It didn't have any of this outdoor structure except for this little arch.
That's the connective
here.
piece I think you need to talk about. So you had been working on this dollhouse for many years. You had to fix a lot of things, refurbish a lot of things, but ultimately it became what we're seeing behind you. Is that right?
Ultimately, it did.
So it became that beautiful structure we're seeing.
It became my prototype build,
but
but I wanted to do more with it than came with the kit. And so the kit portion of this house, I think, constitutes about maybe 25% of what you see is kit.
Okay, right.
And so
I'm gonna actually start to share some of that, the inside and the outside of that, from the video that you gave me to share. So
thank you. And I have to warn everybody, I put captions in because my dad is hard of hearing, and I made this video for him initially because he couldn't really get around the house, and I wanted to explain to him what different things were. So the captions sound like I'm talking to my dad and not just
good, because I think
the public.
We want to really get our heads around is what you did to this what started out as a kit. You kit bashed this to death. I mean,
I did.
So it almost becomes something else.
Yes.
So talk a little bit about what you did, and what we're seeing right there is part of what the biggest piece of what you did, including that whole back area.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Exactly. If you could pause there, that whole back half that you're looking at with I'm pointing at my computer instead of
that works.
But the whole back half, that's all an addition. That was all a scratch built addition to the house. So it actually was just what you see when you're looking at the front here.
Yeah.
And it had sides that you can see the end.
It's actually a beautiful,
only about 18
Tudor.
inches back.
Did it start out as a classic English Tudor? Is that how it was?
It didn't have any of that exterior trim. I made that up.
Oh, is that right?
Yes, it was all just smooth walls, nothing on them at all.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of made up that I'd like it to be sort of a Tudor. And
it works
back.
perfectly.
Oh, thank you. So the back half here, if you could maybe pause there, that back deck is part of the part that I built onto the back of the house because it didn't really have in the interior what I felt would demonstrate how I might be able to do a bedroom for someone or a bathroom for someone, because I couldn't really show off anything in a little tiny space. And I didn't want to show a bathroom with a stairwell going into it because I don't think that's realistic. I didn't want to have just a bathroom and an attic because that didn't seem realistic. So I
Right.
built on what would be a main bedroom and a main bathroom to showcase what I can build from scratch and do
Right.
for people. And
And
have that lovely deck that I fashioned after my Uncle Gerald's house that I always loved. And that kind of the atrium over the bedroom was just something I imagined in
so
my
we
mind.
we should talk a little bit about with this all this work that you've done on this dollhouse and became this beautiful piece. Ultimately, this has become your business. So this is what
Right.
you do for customers. So you build out based on customers' requests. You take commissions for work based
Yes.
on specific designs and things like that. Talk a little bit about what the things that you are available to do.
What I would love to do for people is to just build a custom dollhouse.
Mhm.
I'm not interested in doing like the furnishing of the house necessarily. And
Right.
I think that the best way that I could describe what I am trying to describe here
Yeah.
is that if you can imagine going to look at a model home, when you buy a model home,
Yeah.
and it has all of the cabinetry in the bathrooms, it has all the fixtures in the bathrooms. It's all electrified, of course. It all has everything that would go into the kitchen, including or not including appliances, depending on what the customer wants me to do, because I am drawing the line at
Yeah.
making appliances. I made my refrigerator. I don't ever want to do it again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so Mini Fantaberia she would be my go-to for
Yeah.
appliances in the
Yeah.
builds. But so what the end result would be a house that's ready to furnish and ready to play with and ready to do what you want to do with.
Yeah.
But I'd work with the customer all along the way. So if they want their house to look like, say, a house they grew up in, or a favorite house they saw in a movie, or
Mm.
a dream house that they're imagining, they
Yeah.
would work with me, tell me what colors they want, tell me where they want brickwork, where they don't, what kind of fireplace would they like, and whatever era they want, modern, Victorian, Tudor,
Yeah.
I'll just build whatever they want.
So would you say, well, first of all, is there a name for this home behind you? Have you named her?
Yes, this is the Kennedy house.
That's the Kennedy house. I love the Kennedy house. So would you
Thank
say
you.
the Kennedy house is complete? Where are you
It's
at?
it's 99% complete.
Uh-huh.
It's pretty much complete. The only thing that isn't finished is around the bottom of it. There's decking. I'm stuttering
Yeah.
for some reason. There's decking that goes all around the house on the bottom. And I built a street and a sidewalk onto one side.
Wow.
And that has like bare wood showing around the bottom edges. That's the
Yeah.
only thing that I need to like cover that, put the little brass plate on it with my name, and then it'll be done. So
And so
not very much more to do.
did you say you do all of the wiring and the electric as well?
Yes. Yes.
That seems to be a really one of the most difficult things that people find the most difficult with a dollhouse project. Can you shed some light on how did you get around some of the challenges you might have faced? Did you use hardwire or did you use copper tape? Where did you hide
I'll
everything?
tell you,
Where did you run the wires?
I actually, I did tape wire on this house because I
Hey,
started years and years ago with my daughter when she was 10. We put the first tape wire in part of the house. And
yep.
so I continued in that vein and used the tape wire. And I used that same tape wire in the mountain home study that we'll be talking about later.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
in retrospect, I've read some problems that arise from tape wire that I don't want to experience and I
Mm.
don't want a customer to experience.
Yeah.
Like vibration can make the holes in the tape wire a little bit larger. You might lose a connection. I
That's
actually
right.
had that happen to the outlet that's behind my refrigerator here, and I had to take copper wire and wrap the plug and
Yeah.
refasten that. And so I don't want people to run into issues. So I would be doing round wire going forward.
Yeah. I'm with you
And
on that. There are two trains of thought in terms of copper tape versus round wire. I'm in the round wire traditional camp. I'm with you
yes,
on that.
yes,
So I love that Kennedy house. It's just it's really what first drew me to your work, and I was like, oh my
Thank you.
And I love it. So, but there is actually an item in that house that I want to talk about, which is your miniature version of your baby house, which I want to talk
Yeah.
about if you can. I have a little bit of video which you created, which is awesome. So let's talk about this baby house, which
Sure.
is a piece that's in the Kennedy house, correct?
It's
in one of
in
the
the
rooms.
bedroom.
It's in
Yes.
the bedrooms. So let's talk about this.
So,
Is it
so
a best pack piece that it started from?
if you can pause right there,
Yeah.
that is it. I don't think it is BezPack, actually. It came from Victoria Miniland in Canada
Oh,
as an
okay.
unfinished
Yeah.
piece, but
Right.
it's very, very reminiscent of a fantastic merchandise piece. It looks almost identical that Pitt was holding in his hand in that picture that you had of him.
Yes.
Yeah, it
Yes.
looks almost exactly like that.
Interesting. Well, there are a lot of
Mhm.
stories behind, there's lots of drama, stealing drawings and designs and ideas. So
Yes.
it would not surprise me if this came from or started out as one of Pitt's,
No, it wouldn't
projects,
surprise me at all.
right?
No, not at all.
So now everything in this baby house, talk about all of the furnishings and the design inside.
Well,
And
I did buy a couple of kits from
Mhm.
on eBay and a couple of places. There was a kit for the piano, kit for that little curio that you see in the back of that bedroom. There were kits for some little pieces of furniture, but a lot of it was scratch built by me. I scratch built what was in the bathroom, and
Mm.
let's see, the kitchen is all scratch built.
And you
That's
did all the lighting. That had to
And I did the lighting with, I used these little tiny nano, like little chip LEDs,
Yes.
and just
And
drilled where I wanted to put them. And then I used little tiny seashells over them to cover
Oh,
the lights,
that's a
which
nice
worked out great.
idea.
I thought I have a little parlor where the piano is, and I used the shell right on the wall over it. So it looked kind of like modern art.
I love it.
It's a
I
little
love it.
bigger than a light, but
Yeah.
it's forgivable if it's art, right?
No, it all works beautifully. It really does.
Thank you.
And so this is you said it was the living room, right? Or is it the bedroom?
It's in the bedroom of
In the
the
bedroom.
Kennedy house.
I
And
don't, there was a beautiful photograph, and I'm going to encourage everybody to just go and, I'm going to put it in the comments
go to my
section. Go to
Instagram.
your Instagram, because there's some great photographs of where that is positioned in that bedroom. It's kind of in a little hallway. I love where it's placed.
Yes, thank you. The
Yeah.
bedroom, the way I built the bedroom, I had like a notch so that I could have a bay window looking at the
Wait,
side of the
shell.
house.
There's the shell.
Oh, there's
Can we take a
yes,
moment?
that's my hanging shell in the dining room.
I love that.
Thank you.
I didn't see that
My
before.
My
You always
pendant
do stuff with
chandelier.
I love it. I love it. Okay, I'm sorry. So there was this
No,
little
that's-
knob.
So I built the room so that it could have the bay window looking out at the side of the house, off of where the bed actually is, where you'd put the bed and the nightstands. And it has kind of an atrium top, the glass top over the bed, so that the viewers can look at the stars. And then it's sunken, where you'd step down from where the bed is, that area of the bedroom is sunken. And there's just a strip that goes all the way to the back of the room, just the right size for that baby house to sit on that raised area by the wall.
Yeah.
And then there are
perfect.
French doors that open into the dining room of the main house. And then you have to
I
go
wanted-
upstairs to go into the main bathroom. Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm going on
No,
and on.
I wanted to stop at this kitchen in the baby house, which is like, this is a
Oh, yeah.
full-on modern kitchen with the chef's island in the middle. I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
So great. Oh, my
Thank you so
goodness.
much.
So, all right. So the third piece that we want to talk about that I totally want to get to, actually, I don't know what came first, whether it was this piece or the dollhouse that struck me first. Honestly, it's all my coloring. Like, I just love the warm browns, and I love Tudor-esque, and
Thank you.
all of it. But I think what we're looking at is your mountain house, right?
That's the mountain home study.
The mountain home study. Let's talk about this, because this is now a departure. We went from dollhouse now to smaller, but this is a room box.
This is a room box, and it's a completely 100% scratch built box, scratch built fireplace. Of course, the furnishings I didn't make, except for it did make the coffee table. I found a lovely artist on Instagram that does it's not real wrought iron, but it's the look of wrought iron
Yeah.
that I used for my fireplace screen. I bought the pieces from her and I fashioned it the way that I wanted it, and I put feet on it. And I commissioned from her a square piece of that wrought iron look, and I used it for the coffee table. So the coffee table is wood with that glass top and that wrought iron underneath the glass, and then glass under the wrought iron again, so that it won't get like dust in it. I don't know if it ever would, but
I love the chandelier. It seems, is it Claire-Bell? I'm not sure. It's got to be Claire-Bell, right?
it looks like Claire-Bell, but it's not Claire-Bell. It actually
Really?
came from Circuit Concepts.
Really? It's beautiful.
Thank
Wow.
you.
The
Thank
dual,
you.
it's a double tier. It's a two-tiered
It's a
chandelier.
two-tier. Yes, they have
And
beautiful
arm?
stuff at Circuit.
I didn't. That's beautiful. All right. Could we talk about how you've created this great sense of depth and dimension to this piece? It's hard to see, but
Sure.
take us through these back windows that take us out to this beautiful garden.
Okay, thank you. Well, when I started envisioning this piece, I wanted to do something. I had in my mind that I wanted it to be something that isn't found elsewhere. And forgive somebody else. If somebody has something similar to this, please forgive me. I didn't find anything similar to it online. But I wanted it to look like you could see the forest outside the windows.
Yeah.
And no matter how you moved your head while you were looking, you wouldn't be able to see where they ended and where they started. So it would really appear as if you could see outside the room box.
Yeah.
And so I went out into my backyard and I got some different sticks from the pine trees that grow in my backyard. And I found another artist on Instagram that does beautifully dried foliage. And she had dried hemlock, and I bought dried hemlock from her. And so it will retain its color. It won't ever turn brown, even though it's dead and gone.
Yeah.
And I fashioned these trees and then used dollhouse ivy and little dollhouse colored foliage from there was a website that I found that sold things for people who build model train sets.
Yep.
And I love their little colorful foliage for the train sets, is just right for filling in color where you're not really going to see a lot of detail, but you might notice the patch of color outside a window. And so there's about 3 inches beyond the glass in the windows.
Yeah.
That is the forest.
Across the whole room in the back?
It does. It goes all the way across.
So
behind.
You need to go pretty off to the.
You can't even.
You can go like this.
I don't think
you. You know that's what I'll be doing. I'll be like, I want to see. There's really a forest back there.
Well, I would welcome you to try, but you won't be able to see where it ends. And I like doing that kind of a thing. Well, and I heard there's another an artist that I admire so much, William R. Robertson. Adore him.
Yeah, he's awesome.
And so I love the fact that he does detail where you can't see it necessarily, where you're not going to be looking for it. And I love that he said that, because I'd already done that here. And I thought, oh, fantastic. I'm not alone. But for instance, in that fireplace, all of the brick and mortar work that's inside the fireplace goes all the way up to the mantle. Even though you could never see that. You'd have to use a dental mirror to get a look inside to see where it ends.
But you finished it where people are just not going to see it.
They're not they can move their head, they can try, and it'll look like it's a real honest to God fireplace all the way up. And I also made the wiring from the fire itself is hidden it's hidden right behind the legs of the rack and then down into the floor. So you can't see any wiring in there.
That's amazing.
And there's a little
talk about your dog. The dogs were very important, are very instrumental.
Oh, they are.
Your photographs.
They're my little spokesmodels. They have become my little spokesmodels. So I have 2 dogs, Snoopy and Melina. Snoopy is the Beagle and Melina is the Brussels Griffon. And they are in almost every picture that I post on Instagram. And the way that all hatched was that back in 2020, when I was finishing the Kennedy house, I had commissioned for another artist, Anna Reyes-Nova, to make for me duplicates of my 2 dogs, Snoopy and Melina.
Oh, yeah.
And hadn't intended that they were really going to shine in this way. But when I ended up losing Snoopy in 2020 after 17 years, and she'd
Yeah.
gone everywhere with me. She went to work with me every day. She
Oh,
was my little shadow for 17 years. And
yeah.
when I lost her, I thought it'd be really cool to bring her spirit and little miniature Melina into this Instagram journey that I'm on. And so
Yeah.
they just are in all of my posts, and I make up little stories. Like Melina is the wisecracking know-it-all, and Snoopy is the
Yeah.
quiet observer.
Yeah.
They have their little
Yeah.
personalities.
I'm not
So
always, I'm definitely not personally, I don't prefer having any dolls in any of scenes or miniature
me
scenes
neither. Me
because they
neither.
take away any sense of realism. However, mini
Mhm.
animals, for some reason, and
They
I don't know
don't.
why, they
Yeah.
add life to a room.
You
Is
bet.
that, I don't know why.
I don't know why either.
It's whatever it is, it works.
It does
works.
work. It does work. And I've always, well, because I had all these dolls around me growing up in the business that my dad was in, I've never been really a doll person. Most
Yeah.
of them I found to be a little creepy.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
And
with you
there
on
were just a select few that I thought were cute and would pass muster. And I think when I look at pictures on Instagram where people are posting dolls, I have to admit some of them are gorgeous. And I'm
Oh, yes,
blown
the
away by
art
how
dolls are-
beautiful they are.
Yeah,
Beautiful. Just
sure.
not my style. I don't do
Yeah.
that. I've toyed with the idea of maybe having a pair of legs in the bottom of a skirt like they did in the old cartoons.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But probably not.
So yeah, there's a whole discussion around dolls versus miniatures versus dollhouse. But yeah, you just have to like pick what you like and stick with that. That's what I
Yes,
do.
exactly.
So you know what? This has been so much fun. Thank you so much for sharing some time with us and sharing your beautiful work. We
Thank you,
know
Darren.
where to find you. I'm going to post in the comment section in the body where to find you online. People can find you to for commissions of dollhouses if they want, or room boxes even.
Yes, any type of room box they would like.
Yeah. And we will know where to find you on Instagram. You have a growing audience happening on Instagram. It's really nice to see.
I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah, it's awesome. So thank you so much for joining us today, and best wishes for all your continued success with Kennedy Miniature Construction LLC.
Thank you, Darren. Thank you
All
for
right.
having me. I had such fun.
Thank you. And thank you all at home for watching. Have a great rest
Thank
of your
you,
day.
everyone.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.